Playing for your country is something special. The tension is bigger, the nerves are out on your shirt, and you feel like everybody in Denmark is watching. We are at the moment in Slovenia playing the European Championship for teams, and I am the national coach and the team captain of the team, and I'm also the fifth board. That means the reserve player. And the beginning was a disaster for me. I started by losing two games, and losing for your when you're playing on a team is always horrible. Losing when you're playing on a national team is a disaster and very painful. It just doubles the pain of losing, and it's always painful to lose. Uh, but luckily, I won in the last game here against Belgium, so we're gonna see that game, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about the tension you feel when you're playing for a country, because people thought, oh, it would be nice or great to play for the national team, but actually it is really, really tough because everybody wants to do well, and you feel like the whole nation's eyes are on you, and you don't want to let people down. And people always, and nobody, of course, plays badly on purpose, but it's almost like you get these nagging comments that that was bad and so on. Yeah, I know it was bad. Come on. Anyway, let's see the game that started the small comeback of. For me, we won, by the way, against Belgium. Not as big as we should have. We only won with two and a half, 1.5, because Tubu unfortunately uh, played too aggressively for a win on board one, and end up losing. And Alan, who was better, didn't find the right way, so it was a draw. But Jonas Bjerre won very convincingly, and I won. I would say also convincingly. This Mher Hovhannisyan is actually the only grandmaster in the Belgian team, so it's kind of funny they put him on board five. He's a rather dangerous player. I remember in 2015 he won against Lars Schandorf in the national team when we played on Iceland. So I was not underestimating him in any way, but I also thought that I should win against him because he is something with 24 something, and I'm something with 25 something. So I should be a better player. I noticed that he had no clue what to do against the London, so that was actually an easy choice. I tend to vary my openings with white a lot. That's one of the things you get for being an old player who have played everything. So basically, I can play knight f3, I can play d4, I can play e4, I can play c4, and I choose my openings on sort of the weakness of my opponent. And I've seen he played c6 here, which is not the best move, I think. And after e3, he in an earlier game he had played knight h5. That's not a good move. After bishop e5, white is already better, I think. We follow up with c4, and if he goes something like this, uh, simply take it, and this knight is sort of stranded in no man's land. He will have to play g6 and get it to oops, to this square. So that's kind of, even though he's losing the bishop, I lost the bishop pair. I'm the computer says I'm clearly better, and the pressure, especially in the d file, will be annoying for him. Here he could also play queen b6 or bishop f5, which are normal moves and are played by also strong players. He played e6, and this is obviously makes no sense in connection with c6. It's just that if you play a system with e6, you have to go c5. That's the only way to get counterplay. So I'm not going to play c4 anyway. So you're not going to take and play b5 and get some sort of Mher counterplay. So c6, e6 here is just a waste of a tempo. This pawn on c6 looks weird, and it prompted him to also put his knight here, and the knight is not nearly as good here as it would be here. So this is also nice for me. But he did create a threat of maybe threatening to win the bishop here with knight h5. So I just made room for it, which is often a good idea. It's a very nice bishop here in it's getting control over the center and the queen side, and it can also switch and attack on the king side. And black can't even get to this because it's just hanging at the moment. Bishop e7, here c3. And this is sort of the London setup. White is hoping to get an attack on the king side, but at the moment he's just controlling the center and has only good pieces. Uh, and the black's problem is probably that he knows he has to play. Probably he feels that he has to play c5 at some point to because it otherwise how is he gonna even develop his pieces? But it's just admitting that c6 was ridiculous is very hard. It's the feeling you need to feel like you what you do makes sense, and if you play c5 you will realize that okay I it makes no sense what I did earlier. So b6, and here I have a lot of choices. I could castle and be slightly better. I could play h4, I could play knight e5, I could play queen e2, I could play queen b1. There's a million moves here, but I decided that that he was so passive that why not try and get go for more with g4, and that's also something to force myself because in the first two games I lost with black, I got into this stupid habit of playing too passively. Something that happens to old players, and I realize that this is also happening to me, and it's horrible. So whenever there's a choice between an active move and a passive move, when you become older, you just you say, okay, I can wait. I don't have to do this right now. And then you play the passive move, and you play more and more passively. So I'm trying to force myself to play more actively by first of all choosing the sharper options, and also deciding not to play solid openings with black anymore, because it will not be solid if you're just playing too passively. You will just be crushed, which almost happened in some of the games. So here, and I decided to keep the bishop. I don't know if he's threatening to take it. He might be. He could take here, and I had not decided how to respond. If I'm going to play this move, if I'm going to play this move, um, if I'm going to play like this. Um, the computer, I think, like this for white, and no matter what I do, I'm getting tremendous compensation for the pawn. So, and I knew that. So, when you can sacrifice a pawn like that, you should in general do it. So he decided not to take it, which is sensible. G6, but his knight is now blocking my kingside attack here. The knight is here blocking because I would love to get this pawn rolling, but it's also out of the game, and white is increased his central control. And notice I played d5 before he had the chance to jump into e4 with the knight, with the bishop supporting here. So that was on purpose. That's why I played d4, d5 immediately. h4, and I think white is better here. He's threatening to do this and here, and just push the h pawn. So black decides to play a5, which I thought first was very smart, because on this move now it makes no sense because he has this move and I can't avoid the exchange in any sensible way. So he will keep this knight here, but maybe keeping that knight is not that great because it's completely out of the game, and whenever it tries to relocate it, the h pawn moves. So it's not so fantastic to have a knight here that's dominated by this great bishop that's also taking a lot of squares from black on the long diagonal. So what to do against a5? a4. There is one square here, and all the air sort of got taken out of black's queen side with a4. I will always have a chance to open the c file myself, the queen side, but black has no real counterplay. So that was a nice move. It was of course built. He exchanged his bad bishop for my great bishop, but I also have a queen that can move on the white squares, and it's controlling the white square, and the timing is perfect here because he can't play c4 due to b3, and the pin costs him a pawn, a good central pawn. And he's look at the control white has over the center. Black is not getting any kind of counterplay for that pawn. So he go back, and I put my queen here. And of course, you're always a little bit worried about putting your queen in enemy territory like that, because it might get trapped. But I couldn't find any way he could trap it, and it's really an annoying piece having there. It's giving a lot of pressure on the queen side and in the center. And basically, I'm going to castle queen side, make sure my king is safe, and open the center and playing. And whenever he tries to get these pieces into play, he will give away other squares, because he can't move this knight. Then this knight is coming here, which is also very unpleasant. And this knight can't move because of the h pawn rolling and so on. So it's kind of a nice position, and the computer already think I'm clearly better here. So I'm a little bit proud of this maneuver: queen e2, queen b5, and castling, and queen b7, and he was still using a lot of time here. Rook ac8, and here that's prophylactic and maybe a bit overkill. I thought the only counterplay black could ever have was something with the f pawn. I said, okay, let's just overprotect the g pawn, be ready to sometimes open the d file, sometimes not open the d file, and being able to decide. And also sometimes this maneuver comes into play, and I'm taking the rook out of the queen's diagonal, but it's not really necessary. Rook he1 was probably a better move. Queen c6, he couldn't find anything better than exchanging queens, but that that takes away all his counterplay, and his position is still clumsy. It doesn't coordinate very well, and I'm allowed to do this move. And notice that because of this pawn here and this square, if he takes, I can just take with the knight and get it to b5 and be very happy. And there's a lot of he will have a lot of problem coordinating his pieces in these positions here. Rook d8. There's also a pawn here. He's trying to keep his position together. Take, and here I think the computer really likes c4. And to be honest, that is a very good move. Just because it's actually perfect timing. I thought that this maneuver was stronger, but it is not, and it gives away some of the advantage if he plays well. He didn't find the right way to play this, and I still managed to get a good position. I'm threatening here. But he has this move, and that was sort of his setup, where he's getting ready for the. If I take here, he will take with the knight and cover this pawn. I'll make that yellow. But just getting the knight back, and I have two very great knights here. There are squares on the black side. This guy is not in the game at the moment. And there's also sometimes when a check here or here or here can be a big problem, especially something in connection with this, and here could be a problem for him. Anyway, so he played king g7 to just take away any checks, but that allows a winning move for white. And it comes here, which was the plan, of course. I'm blasting the center opening, and his rook and knight and other rook is very clumsy. They just don't coordinate very well. So he went d takes, and he was down on 1 minute here. Knight takes, and of course, even though you get 30 seconds, it's not enough. And attack the rook again. d5, and that's very nasty move. Securing this square without any thing, and getting ready to get it. And this, the big problem is that this knight is completely out of the game, and I'm having all the white squares to jump to. It's here, and it's here, and well, it's all over. After knight a5, I could just go knight e5, and that's very nasty, because I don't need, this knight is perfectly placed. So, oops, sorry. So why not put the other knight, this knight, on this square? and he was down to seconds here, getting the rook b8, and after this move, he lost on time. And of course, it's completely lost. He could play this move, and I would play this move, and of course, black can resign here. So that was a nice little win, and nice to be back, and also not because I'm not sure I will get many matches from here in the future. I'm 50 years old, and the young players are supposed to take over now. They are already taking more or less over, and so my time at the national team is running out, and it would have been nasty not to finish with a win against the grandmaster. That's so I'm happy I won this game. And this was TM Talks. Thank you for watching, and please leave comments or something else. By the way, we are know that the sound is uneven, and we will fix it when I get home from Slovenia. Thank you for watching.